Let us begin with the uncomfortable truth. The one that sits in the silence between men after a rejection. The one no one wants to say out loud for fear of sounding jaded or cruel. Women do not fall in love with kindness alone. They do not develop a deep, consuming obsession for the man who dutifully gives them the world on a silver platter. They do not lie awake at night fantasizing about the man who showers them with an endless stream of compliments. The man who bends his own spine backward to anticipate her every need and win her heart through sheer force of accommodation. No. What truly makes a woman obsess, what buries a man so deep in her thoughts that he becomes the landscape of her mind from morning to night, is a singular, powerful moment of masculine presence that shatters her emotional patterns. It is a moment where she sees something in you that disrupts the constant, predictable noise in her mind. When you learn to create this one thing, this one specific experience that most men are too afraid or too conditioned to ever attempt, she will not just remember you, she will chase you. And this is not a discussion about cheap manipulation or toxic games. This is a lesson in triggering the one emotion most women rarely, if ever, feel from a modern man anymore. Deep, authentic, masculine unpredictability, wrapped in unshakable self-control, the fundamental misunderstanding that leads countless good men to the friend zone is the belief that attraction is created and sustained through safety alone. You have been taught to be a safe harbor, a predictable source of comfort and validation. But attraction is not born in the placid waters of a harbor. It is born in the tumultuous, electrifying tension between safety and mystery. Women, like all human beings, crave to feel something beyond the sterile logic of a pros and cons list. They crave something primal, something that stirs their emotions and makes them feel alive. The way you give her that feeling is not by sending another perfunctory good morning text. It is not by dutifully opening her car door or by remembering her complicated coffee order. Those actions are maintenance. They are the gestures of a man who is trying to keep what he already has. But obsession, that all-consuming fire, is born in a moment of profound contrast. It is born in the moment where you pull away, just when she expects you to lean in. It is the moment you withhold your emotional availability, not out of cruelty or spite, but out of a deeply grounded understanding that your time, your energy, and your focus are sacred. It is the moment you non-verbally communicate that you are not a man to be consumed on demand, that she must earn access to your softness, your vulnerability, and your undivided attention. When you successfully demonstrate this, you create an indelible emotional imprint. Most men believe that to make a woman think about them, they must constantly be in her face, constantly reminding her of their existence. But that is not what makes her stare at her phone for hours, her stomaching, not wondering why you have not sent that expected message. That is not what has her pacing in her bedroom, rereading your last conversation, or frantically texting her friends. Why hasn't he called? What creates that state of obsessive wonder is the moment she realizes, with a jolt, that she does not have your full attention. It is the moment she understands that she cannot predict your next move. It is the moment she is confronted with the stark reality that she does not own your emotions. The second you show her that you can, and will, withhold your validation, that your world does not revolve around her, that your happiness is not contingent on her approval, that is when her primal instincts light up like a switchboard. That is the moment you transform from just another nice guy into the guy, the one she cannot stop thinking about. To master this, you must first understand how obsession forms in the female mind. It is not a logical process. It is not cultivated through words, pleading, proving, or pouring your heart out in long, emotionally overwrought paragraphs. It is forged in the fire of contrast. The stark, jarring contrast between what she is used to from other men and, perhaps even from you in the beginning, and what you are giving her now. She is used to a steady diet of validation, flattery, and immediate attention. But you create a void. You create a vacuum when you do not follow the predictable script, when you stop chasing her, when you respond to her messages slowly, not to punish her, but because your time is genuinely full, because you are building an empire, because you are focused on your mission. You are not ignoring her out of spite. You are simply not obsessed with her. And that palpable absence of obsession on your part is the very thing that creates hers. Nothing makes a woman more intensely curious than a man who, by all accounts, should want her, yet does not act like it. Now, let us get real. Most men cannot pull this off. They may try for a day or two, but they will ultimately fail. Why? Because they are addicted to her response. They are psychologically and emotionally glued to their phones, their sense of self-worth directly tied to her notification. They only feel powerful, desirable, and masculine when they are being actively validated by her attention. So, when she does not text back within an hour, they begin to panic. Their minds spin out into a vortex of negative self-talk and anxiety. They double text, then triple text. They break their own boundaries in a desperate attempt to solicit a response, and in doing so, they kill the very mystery they had started to create. They reveal their entire hand far too early, and once she knows, with absolute certainty, that she has you emotionally, that she can summon your attention with a flick of her wrist, it is game over. That is precisely why this act of disciplined non-reaction is so potent. When she expects a text from you and it does not come, a question mark appears in her mind. When she posts a story on social media that is clearly designed to get your attention, and you do not bite, that question mark grows larger. When she disappears for a day expecting you to frantically check in and you do not chase, you flip the entire dynamic on its head. She is no longer the one being pursued. She begins to question why she is not. She starts chasing, she starts craving your validation. And you accomplish this profound shift without saying a single word. This is the raw, authentic, masculine energy she is starving for. A man who does not fold under the slightest pressure. A man who can sit with the discomfort of not knowing, of uncertainty, and still choose to maintain his own frame. She does not want a boy who desperately chases the dopamine hit of her reply. She wants a man who chooses his purpose above all else. And when you truly live like that, not perform it, but embody it in your every action and inaction, she feels something she rarely feels from other men. Trust, not because you have given her control, but precisely because you have demonstrated that you have unshakable control of yourself, of your time, of your focus, of your emotions. She may not consciously understand the mechanics of what is happening, but she will feel it on a deep, instinctual level. And when she feels that grounded presence, that is when she starts to orbit you. That is when she starts to subtly change her own behavior just to see if she can, once again, affect yours. Women will test you. This is not because they are evil or manipulative in a cartoonish sense. It is because, on some deep evolutionary level, they need to know the quality of your emotional strength. Can you hold steady when she pulls away? Can you resist the urge to people please when she is moody or distant? Can you ignore her subtle games and stay focused on your own mission? The man who consistently passes those tests, the man who does not flinch in the face of her emotional chaos, is the man she will obsess over. He is the man she will tell her friends about. He is the man she will compare all future men to, because he is rare. He is not just performing masculinity, he is embodying it. He does not need her validation to feel whole, and precisely because of that, she cannot stop herself from trying to earn it. There will come a moment, a critical inflection point, where she will try to break your composure. Maybe she ghosts you for a week after a fantastic date. Maybe she will flirt outrageously with other men right in front of you. Maybe she will pretend not to care when you share something you are proud of. This moment is the final exam. Most guys will react. They will become consumed by jealousy. They will send that long, emotional paragraph demanding an explanation. They will fall headfirst into the very trap she, perhaps even unconsciously, has set. But the man who stands firm, who remains silent, who does not allow her behavior to dictate his emotional state, that man gets burned into her nervous system. In that moment, she does not just see his strength, she feels it, the masculine strength she has been craving, not the kind that dominates or controls her, but the kind that cannot be dominated or controlled by her, the kind that does not bend. It will drive her crazy in the best possible way. You must understand that obsession is not a logical phenomenon, it is purely emotional, and emotions are shaped by powerful experiences, not by lengthy explanations. The more you try to explain yourself to her, the more you kill the vital tension between you. The more you try to convince her of your worth, the more you dissolve the mystery that makes you attractive. But when you move in silence, when you let your powerful actions speak for you, when you walk away from disrespect without a single word, you become unforgettable. You become unforgettable because you did the one thing most men are constitutionally incapable of doing. You resisted the overwhelming urge to prove yourself. And that, brother, is the very definition of power. So, what is the one thing you must do to trigger this entire cascade of events? You must stop giving her what she has not earned. Stop offering your emotional intimacy before she has invested her own. Stop initiating every single conversation. Stop being so damn available, both digitally and emotionally. Let her feel the stark, chilling reality of your absence. Let her wonder where you went. Let her question if she ever really had you in the first place, because that is the precise moment the shift happens. That is the moment she transitions from being merely entertained by you to being emotionally hooked on you. Not because you manipulated her into it, but because you finally gave her the one thing her primal instincts secretly crave more than anything else in the world: a man she has to work for. When you consciously stop giving a woman everything up front, you are not just creating distance, you are forcing her to confront herself. For weeks, months, or perhaps even years, she has been reacting to your constant pursuit, your predictable energy. But now, in the vacuum of your absence, she has nothing to react to but the echo of her own behavior. In that deafening silence, she finally meets a version of you she did not know existed, the version who does not need her for validation, the version who does not crumble into a pile of insecurity just because she is acting distant. That profound contrast between the man you were and the man you have become shocks her entire system. Most men chase, most men panic, but not you. You are now the man who lets her sit with the tension. You let her stew in the uncomfortable, unfamiliar feeling of not knowing exactly where she stands with you. And the longer you can hold that line, the more her baseline interest will begin to morph into a full-blown obsession. Not because you played a clever game, but because you finally stopped playing hers. The entire dynamic of your interaction changes. The moment you truly internalize that your energy is a currency, it is your most valuable, non-renewable resource, and the more you give it away freely and without expectation of return, the more it devalues in the eyes of the recipient. But when you begin to treat your attention like gold, when you make it scarce, when you reserve it only for those who demonstrate real, consistent effort, that is when women begin to take notice. They watch how you move. They notice the subtle but seismic shift in your priorities. Suddenly, she is thinking twice before ignoring your text, if you even choose to send one. Suddenly, she is replaying your last interaction in her mind, wondering if she said or did something wrong to cause your withdrawal. You have flipped the script by flipping the very nature of value in the interaction. She may have thought she was the prize, but now she is being forced to realize that you, with your newfound purpose and self-possession, were the gift all along. And the moment she understands that, the moment she perceives your attention as something she has lost, she will begin to obsess over getting it back. Most men desperately want her attention, but the man who gets her obsession is the one who can demonstrate that he can walk away from her attention completely. Women are conditioned to be chased. They are used to a state of constant emotional availability from men. They are accustomed to being the center of gravity in a man's emotional world. But when a man refuses to orbit around her, when he becomes his own sun, his own center, his own source of light and warmth, that is when her own axis begins to tilt. That is when her emotions spiral. Obsession is born from this kind of a toxic, abusive imbalance, but one of emotional mystery. She cannot quite figure you out. You gave her a taste of your warmth, your interest, your depth, and then you pulled back into your own world. Now she is starving for more. You have surely noticed the pattern in your own life. The moment you stop caring, they start chasing. This is not an accident. It is a fundamental law of energetic polarity. The feminine craves and is drawn to the masculine that leads, not with overt control, but with unshakable composure. When you stop texting her first, when you stop feeling the need to explain your silence, when you stop checking in just to make sure you still exist in her mind, your world, and consequently hers, changes. You are not being rude. You are reclaiming your natural position as the leader of your own life. And the great irony is that the less you reach out, the more she will. Not because you are playing hard to get, but because your value in her eyes has just skyrocketed. Scarcity creates demand, and in a world where nearly every man is overavailable, your disciplined attachment is a diamond. There is a certain kind of silence that speaks far louder than words ever could. It is not the punitive silence of ghosting. It is not the silence of punishment. It is the silence of masculine poise. When you go quiet with purpose, it forces her to feel, not just to think. She will start to question why you pulled back. She will revisit old conversations, imbuing them with new meaning. She will start to notice every detail about you that she had previously overlooked when you were too available. That silence creates a psychological vacuum, and as we know, nature abhors a vacuum. So, she will try to fill it. She will text you. She will post things specifically for you to see. She will ask mutual friends about you. She will do anything she can to pull you back into her orbit and resolve the tension you have created. But you remain focused. You remain grounded. You do not budge. And that unwavering resolve, that is what seals the obsession. Here is what separates the man she forgets from the man she obsesses over for a lifetime. Emotional contrast. The guy she forgets was always the same. Always available, always agreeable, always predictable. But the guy she obsesses over was a man of unexpected depth. He flipped between genuine softness and unyielding steel. He showed her his interest. Then he demonstrated his discipline. He gave her access to his world, and then he stepped back into it, with or without her. That emotional roller coaster of tension and release created powerful imprints on her psyche. She did not just interact with him, she experienced him. And experiences are what the feminine soul clings to. It is not about being cold. It is about being controlled. That is the crucial difference between creating confusion and creating compulsion. At some point, she will test your newfound attachment. It is inevitable. She will breadcrumb you. She will send a random low-effort "hey" text at 11 p.m. She will post a provocative story that is aimed directly at you like a guided missile. She wants to see if the spell of her allure still works on you. And this is the moment where most men fail. They see her text and their discipline crumbles. They bite. They rush back in with an eager, enthusiastic response. They validate her low-effort probe. And just like that, with a single reply born of weakness, the obsession dies. She realizes, with a sigh of relief and a twinge of disappointment, that she still has control. But the man who sees the trap, the man who acknowledges the bait but does not take it, he grows in her mind. He becomes larger than life. He becomes a myth, a mystery she must solve. A mystery is the food that feeds obsession, because if she cannot decode you, she has no choice but to chase you. You do not win a woman's mind by begging for her heart. You win it by mastering yourself. Self-mastery is the rarest of all human qualities. Most men are slaves to their emotions, slaves to their desires, slaves to her validation. But the man who can practice delayed gratification, the man who can hold the line in the face of temptation, the man who can stay silent in the face of her provocation, that man becomes unforgettable. She cannot easily replace that. She can find a man who is hotter, she can find one who is richer, but she cannot find another man who has the nerve to walk away from her and mean it. And that, my brother, is your edge. It is not found in what you say, but in what you refuse to say. Eventually, if you hold the frame long enough, she will break her own silence in a more meaningful way. She will send the "I miss you" text. She will like a photo of you from years ago. She will comment something cryptic that invites a real conversation. This is not because she is sure you will respond, but because the tension of your silence has become too much for her to bear, and she desperately hopes you will. That is the moment you will know it has worked. She is thinking about you, she is obsessing over the what if, and what you do next determines everything. If you break your frame and rush back in too soon, you simply reset the entire painful cycle. But if you hold, if you wait, if you continue living your life, thriving, and building, you give her the ultimate emotional experience, yearning. And when a woman truly yearns for a man, she bonds to him, not to his words, but to his presence, to his discipline, to his standard. So remember this always. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to be the richest, tallest, or most handsome man in the room. You just need to do one thing that most men will never do. You must create that unforgettable emotional imprint by being the man who does not need her. Show her that you can withhold your attention. Show her that your emotions are not on tap for her convenience. Show her that you do not fall for games. And when you do that, just once, it will create a ripple in her mind that never truly leaves. She will obsess. Not because you tricked her, but because you woke something up in her that few men ever touch. Respect. A deep, primal respect for a man who does not chase love, but who has the strength and self-worth to let love chase him.